Well, so here's the thing. I was trying to explain this to her because she always says, listen, if you pray for him, then B'ezrat Hashem, the prayer is going to be answered. That's partially true, but it's not really. It's only maybe 5% of the equation, because in order for anyone to really change their life, and whether it's in religion and spirituality, or it's in business, or in anything in life, you have to be willing to change yourself. You have to be willing to help yourself. You can't just sit down on a couch, fold your hands, and just wait, okay, it's my turn for me to change and everything's going to work out, I'm going to win the lotto. That doesn't work. Life doesn't work out that way. And the same thing is with Judaism in general, is that you can't just say, okay, one day I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do tshuva. Or a lot of people say, which is actually not allowed to do, they say, oh, you know what? Once I make money, then I'm going to be more calm, then I'm going to do tshuva. Or once I get married, then I'm going to do tshuva. Or once I have this, then I'm going to do tshuva. And the problem is with that is that you're actually putting yourself in a worse situation than before you said that statement. And the reason why is because you're pretty much saying right now, okay, so Hashem, here's the deal. You give me this, and I'll do tshuva. So you give me money, and I'll do what you say. So it's like, oh, you're negotiating with Hashem. Who are you, Bichlad, to negotiate with Hashem? Think about it. You think about it logically. Okay, so let's say, here's the thing, and I think I came to this conclusion after hearing it from Rabbi Mizrahi and also my cousin, and just in general, you just think about this stuff. You just sit there and you start thinking. Generally, when you look at Hashem, as far as like the whole aspect of Hashem and Judaism, and just even if you believe in a different religion, and it's actually one of the problems of other religions, is that people humanize him. They think he's one of their buddies. They think that he's something that, oh, listen, whenever I have a tough day, I pray and everything works out. Or whenever God is there when it's convenient, and they try to humanize him, and that's why a lot of people that don't believe in God, the first thing they say is, I don't believe there's some guy up there controlling everything. Like it's actually literally, like in their mind, it's some guy up there controlling everything. But in the Torah, it specifically tells us, En lo guf, en lo dmut haguf. You can't even visualize, you can't even imagine something that he could look like. You're not even allowed to do that because he has nothing. It's not anything that's similar to us. So when you humanize them, you're pretty much minimizing them at the same time, and you're putting them in a perspective where it's like you're making them the equivalent of you or one of your buddies.
מגשים אותו, זה לא יכול להקשיב, כל לא משנה מה אתה מתאר אותו, זה מגשים אותו.
Anything, any type of visualization, any type of human aspect that you give to Hashem, you're minimizing him and you're making it just like you. And Hashem specifically says it to us a few times in the Torah. I'm not like you. I don't think like you. I don't change my mind like you. There's no similarities. So then the next question is, wait a minute, Parashat Bereshit, in the beginning of the Torah, it says, no, let's make man like us, in our image. So this sentence actually created a very, very big dilemma initially for people who didn't understand Torah. Even Moshe Rabbeinu, who got the Torah, asked Hashem, why would you put this sentence in there? Why would you say B'Tzalmenu? B'Tzalmenu is plural. Meaning people would think there's more than one God. Why wouldn't you say B'Tzelem Sheli? So, and Hashem told him, no, listen, you write it that way. There's a couple of reasons. Number one, you write it that way because anyone who's going to read the Torah is going to understand that this is something that I am giving the angels the benefit of the doubt, because the angels were part of the creation. And in essence, some of the angels didn't actually want humans to be created. They wanted Hashem all for themselves. They wanted the world for themselves. They didn't want humans to be created. But angels can't do mitzvot, so the world was created for man. But there were some of the angels, which later on actually came to earth and were called the Nephilim, and they actually were part of the reason of why the world was destroyed the first time when, in the whole story of Noah's Ark, there was, if you read in the parasha, it says there was the Nephilim. Nephilim were these giants. They were pretty much angels. And there was two of them that Hashem sent. They were two specific ones that went against the creation. They didn't want Hashem to create human beings. And he said, no, why are you going to create human beings? They're going to sin. They're going to go against you. They're not going to do what you say. Look at us. We're going to do whatever you want. So Hashem explained to them, it's not. It's en chokhmah belo la'asot. It's not really like smart to just say, okay, listen, to avoid, sinning, I'm just not going to do anything. So to avoid me sinning, I'm just going to stay at home and I'm never going to leave my house. En chokhmah b'zeh. There's no big deal. You're not reaching any high level by staying at home and making a cave for yourself just so you don't sin. The chokhmah, the real test is if you go out there and you pass the test. You don't look at the women, you don't steal money, you deal with you pray, you deal with things in an honorable way, you remember that Hashem is with you every single step of the way and nothing is in your hands. That's the test. To remember Hashem in every single step of your day and not to think that it's in your hands. But to just say, listen, I know I can't pass those tests, so instead I'm just going to make myself a little cave. I'm going to live in that cave. And then maybe one day when I die, Hashem's going to say I'm a tzaddik. No, you're not going to be a tzaddik. You're just going to actually be punished for it. Why? Because you wasted your life. You didn't reach your potential. Maybe your job in this world was to make people do tshuva. Maybe your job in this world was to marry a woman and have 10 kids, and one of those kids was going to be Gedol Adol. You're not serving your purpose by just hiding. Mm-hmm. So the same thing. So that was the argument with these angels. They said, no, don't create them. But Hashem said, no, en chokhmah b'zeh. But at the same time, he said, oh, listen, I'm going to make you as part of the creation in essence. They didn't help Hashem in creating, but he gave them the benefit of the doubt to make them feel good. He said, bo na'aseh et ha'adam b'tzalmenu. Why? Because since Hashem doesn't have an actual image of any kind, he has no tzelem. But the angels do. The angels, in essence, are something very similar to our soul. So we have a body and we have a soul. The soul itself, the original soul, came from actually as a part of Hashem. And that was one of the only thing that actually wasn't created in the beginning of time. Everything else was created. The heaven, the earth, the sky, the clouds, the trees, the animals, everything, the fruits, everything else was created. All the amazing things that you see, everything was created except the soul. The soul was actually literally a part of Hashem. So that part is in essence that's our soul, and that soul has somewhat of a you could visualize it as something that is similar to the way an angel looks like. Not identical, but it has a similarity, and that's why it says b'tzalmenu and not bedmutenu, not exactly like us. Mm-hmm. So when you go back into the whole overall creation itself, you go back to trying to figure out, okay, he created us, we have this purpose, and I need to make money. That's my purpose in life. Okay, but for what? Because I need to build a house. But for what? Amen. But for what? So I could get married. But for what? So I could have kids. But for what? So I could, help the kids go to school. And you keep asking the same question, why? Eventually, a person that is just living life and just following what we know as the system, eventually reaches no purpose. Because, okay, so you wake up in the morning, you go to work, you need to make money. Why? So you can pay the bills. Why? So you can buy a house. Why? So you can have a car. Okay, so you have the car, you have the house, you have the wife, you have the kids. The kids grow up, they leave, they do their own thing, they live their life, you stay with the wife, and then what? Okay, so then you live your life, then you play golf a couple of times a week, and then what? Oh, then I have dinner a few times a week, great. And then what? And you realize when you start looking at all of these things in a logical way, you realize it's, in essence, a purposeless life. Whether the person has millions and millions of dollars, or he has nothing, both of those people that just lived a material life are at a point where there's really no purpose. There's no purpose. Okay, so I came here, and nothing distinguished me from the next guy next to me, from the next door guy. He lived, he paid his bills, and there was really no purpose here. But when you add spirituality to your life, when you add Hashem specifically to your life, that's something that gives you purpose. Now, when you first start the journey, it's very, very difficult to see it, because the beginning of the journey is the most difficult part. Because we humanized him our whole life, because we thought he was some type of cartoon character, chas v'chalila, or something that's similar to us, then initially we're thinking that we could just talk to him and we could just treat him just like one of our buddies. But Hashem doesn't tell us that he's our buddy. He's our father, but when was the last time that you saw a real solid relationship where the father was always friends with the son? Sometimes he's a father, sometimes he's a friend. It's not always. No real relationship that's a good relationship, a healthy relationship between a father and a son is always friends. You have to be a father sometimes and friend sometimes. Hashem is not our friend, he's our father. Now, if we look at things that way, then we realize, okay, our father wants the best for us. Our father wants us to improve ourselves. But we're not Moshe Rabbeinu. So he's not going to come to me in a dream, or in Moshe Rabbeinu's case, face to face in essence, where he's talking to him just like you and I talking to each other right now, just without seeing each other. So he's not going to do that. I'm not Moshe Rabbeinu. You're not Moshe Rabbeinu. He's not coming to me. He's not like Avraham Avinu. We're not like Noah. He's not coming to us in any dreams. So how is Hashem talking to us? He's talking to us in all of the tikkunim that we have every day. The stuff that's the most difficult, that's usually when Hashem is talking to you. Because and sometimes the things that are going well, obviously he's telling you a good sign as well. But usually when someone's doing really well, they don't look up. They don't look, oh yeah, thank you Hashem. That's not the first thing they do.
They should.
They should, but when somebody wins the lotto, the first thing they say is, yes, I knew it, or they call their wife. They don't call Hashem. They don't go.
It's my luck.
They don't go to
It's
my luck. Well, great. They don't go to the Beit Knesset and start really doing mincha in a different way than they ever did in their life. No, they won the lotto.
They should go. They should go in the mornings now, and so they don't have to be at work. So they have the
right, exactly. So when somebody has something bad happen to him, first thing they do is they look up. Why me?
Right.
Why me? There's a good story. It was actually a true story. My cousin told me it. He's amazing, and his stories are usually all true stories that are, you would think that this is something like from my life. So there's one guy in Israel who went into business and lived a secular life. Didn't really have much education about Hashem during his life. He heard of this concept, Hashem, of somebody that created us, but didn't really know much, which is hard to believe that someone that lives in Israel doesn't know who Hashem is or anything like that. Even if you're not religious, you would think that people would know, but you're very, very surprised. There was actually one time that one big rabbi went to a school, and he wanted to teach the school. It was a secular school, and he wanted to teach the school about Tehillim. He's like, oh, let me teach them Tehillim. He's like, no, ma pitom. No, we were a secular school. We're teaching them about Zionism. We're teaching them about the country. They know this stuff. He goes, wait, what do you mean? They should know it, but maybe they don't. No, they know. He goes, okay, so let's test it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's test what happens. So he asked the kids, who wrote Sefer Tehillim? Who wrote Psalms? Nobody's answering. He goes, okay, I'll give you a hint. David, and the rest of the class said, Ben Gurion, which is one of the founders of modern Israel, not David HaMelech, unfortunately.
They didn't say David HaMelech.
They didn't say David HaMelech. They didn't know. An auditorium full of Israeli kids did not know who David HaMelech was.
בבית ספר חילוני כביכול.
בית ספר חילוני.
סיפור אמיתי?
סיפור אמיתי. קרה לפני, ב10 שנים האחרונות.
אף אחד לא ידע מכל
אף אחד לא ידע מי זה דוד המלך בכלל.
חמור מאוד.
And that's the that's the world we live in. So us, it's like, oh, I know who David HaMelech is. Everybody knows who David HaMelech is. No, but believe it or not, they don't. And this is in Israel. It's not like in Africa or something, some kfar or something like that nobody knows anything, and they heard of this concept, Judaism. This is in Israel. There are certain parts of Israel that are so anti-Judaism that it's surprising to even think that these people are Jewish. It's surprising to even like hear these people speak Hebrew. They speak Hebrew perfectly, better than you and I. But as far as Judaism, it's a different story.
A lot of the, I heard a lot of the girls there, a lot of them getting tattoos and pierce. And
Can, there's not,
In
there's,
Israel,
Yetzirah.
everything. הכל קורה.
אסור את זה.
כן.
נכון, אסור שיהיה טאטו עליך.
No.
אסור לעשות טאטו, אבל אחרי שכבר עליך, זה כבר, אחרי כבר החטא. Meaning that
What if you erase
to
it?
make the tattoo,
Right.
you're not allowed. But once you have it, you're not obligated to remove it.
But the thing is, if you have it,
Unless it's in a place that creates Chilul Hashem.
but
meaning-
if you have it in a place, even not for Chilul Hashem, the thing is they buried you in the, not in the, you know, like,
Cemetery.
No,
Yeah.
that's false. That's not true.
no, it's not true.
That's a
That's
fairy.
only.
That's a fairy tale that
That's only
mothers.
if you commit suicide.
No,
No, that's,
suicide.
the whole concept of not burying you in a Jewish cemetery because you have a tattoo.
So it's
that's
not-
what,
it's
that's
not-
what mothers tell their kids so they don't get tattoos.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, it's not. I believe that most of my life too, so don't worry, you're not alone.
Oh,
I only it's
Because
not-
that's what they always said.
Yeah, they always say this.
But they
People
say
say
also
things
for
so many
suicide.
times.
Suicide, I think it's
suicide
true.
You have to do outside.
Suicide is a different story.
Because
Suicide
you're
is
taking your life.
Yeah.
suicide is a different story. I don't know how what extent they punish the suicide body that's left here. I mean, he already punished himself, and he's gonna be continuously punished for the rest of eternity. It's the worst thing you can do.
Because
your
only,
life,
only Hashem has the right to
your
do it.
life is not yours. That's one of the first things that somebody has to realize. Your life is not actually yours. Your free choice that everybody says, no, I have free choice. I can do what I want. You don't actually have real free choice like we think free choice. You don't have free choice to be a male or a female. You're born either male or female. If somebody's a little crazy and they change it, they're still whatever they were born with. You know,
But
as far as,
that's against also the religion.
yeah, but it's as far as the the choice of being rich or poor is not in our hands. You could work 20 hours a day like I did most of my life and chase money, or you could work 5 hours a day, or you could work nothing. Your parnasah will be the same. But it's all based on emunah. If you work nothing because you're lazy, then
Believe me,
obviously
I
it's a
see
different
this.
story.
I see this so clear.
If you work
lately
non-stop,
with the parnasa.
listen, if you work non-stop, then then you're putting yourself in a situation where you're leaving yourself a huge open door for the Yetzirah to come in and destroy your life.
Yeah,
Why?
it's true.
Because the tavlin, the medicine against the Yetzirah, Hashem specifically said, I created the Yetzirah and I created the potion or the medicine against it, which is the Torah. So someone who is working non-stop and does not have daily Torah, it's not once a week, not twice a week, not 3 times, not whenever I feel like it, every day, some type of Torah. Even if it's 10 minutes, and that's how you're starting, but it's every day, it's better than 70 minutes one day. It's better than 100 minutes one day. My cousin, actually, when we first started, and we were doing, we were learning once a week. It was a few hours during that day. It got to a point where it was like 5-6 hour calls, 7-hour calls, but that was it. That was my day. 7 hours conversation with the Flying Kachlon. I was learning so much. It was amazing. But then the rest of the week, I was back to my regular life. And he told me it's better that you do 10 minutes a day, every day, than the 7-hour conversation. Why? Because you're feeding your soul every single day.
What about if, like at lunchtime, sometimes I read
Anything.
daily.
That's Torah.
That's good.
Any part of Torah. Torah doesn't have a specific thing that you have to do. You don't have to necessarily read Chumash or Tanakh or Gemara. Anything, especially in the beginning, you have to read what you like. Because in the beginning, it's the most difficult to really get connected to it because you don't really know what you're doing. You don't understand everything. You don't really know where to start, where to
It's kind of hard for
finish.
me to understand it.
It's hard for people that have been reading it for 20 years to understand it unless you study it. But if you do something that you're enjoying, then that's your best route in the beginning. First, you start off with things that you enjoy. You do a little more of it, a little more of it. Get it as part of your life. Just like breathing is part of your life every day, you don't choose to breathe. It's a natural instinct. Torah has to be the same thing. It has to be part of your everyday life. You add to your life 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, half hour a day, an hour a day. Little by little, it gets more and more until it gets to a point where you're it's already part of your life. It's part of you. And then you start advancing and you start going from doing just Tehillim or just this to something a little more complex, and you make your brain work a little bit. But going back to the story itself, so this guy
Like the kids in the school.
Oh, the kids in the school is unfortunately what happened with it is the kids didn't know anything. The good news is that the teacher, the principal that saw this was so embarrassed of this answer. She couldn't believe that a room full of kids, like an auditorium full of kids, didn't know who David HaMelech was, who wrote Psalms, who wrote Tehillim. I mean, it's insane. Even someone that's not Jewish knows who wrote Tehillim. There's Chinese people who read Tehillim every day, but our own Israeli kids don't know who David HaMelech is. So she said, okay, you know what?
What do you mean Chinese?
It's translated to pretty much every language, Tehillim.
Okay.
So there's actually Chinese people that read Tehillim every day. Actually, in Korea,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they live in Gemara.
they added Gemara studies to the curriculum of regular schools.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they search her why the Jewish have that much Nobel, people win a Nobel Prize.
Mm-hmm.
So they search about it and they come to include it. It's because the Gemara, the Jewish.
Yeah,
brain.
they did a research and they're trying to figure out how is it that a country that has less than 0.1 of 1% of the people in the world, with 14 million Jews in the entire world, is 7.5 billion people. We're a statistical anomaly that even anyone knows that we exist, let alone the fact that we have statistically more Nobel Prize winners per capita than any country in the world, than any civilization.
Nobel Prize, like in different
Crazy.
In different areas,
In different areas.
science and math
yeah.
and different things. So
they were
the
interested.
Koreans were interested
Yeah.
in finding out how is this possible, and they decided to go and research different things. And they decided that it's because
of the grammar.
of the
The
Gemara.
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 It's not necessarily the case because most of the people that are winning these Nobel Prizes are not necessarily religious Jewish people. They just have a Jewish mind. But either way, they saw
They have a
obviously
Jewish
the value.
mind, but they could use it more.
Yeah, they
Maybe it's
they
come
saw
from the
value.
other generation.
Yeah,
you
it
know.
can. It's a part
But
of the
there is
people.
the last one. The last one was religion. The one with the Torat HaMischakim. The one with the you have like a zakan
Long
arov
beard.
lavan. Yeah. It was religion. The last one.
So so anyway, they saw the value in Gemara more than a lot of Israelis and Jewish people around the world see the value in Gemara, and they added it to their curriculum, and they're studying it as part of their school. Actually,
Amazing, huh?
a lot of them are actually converting.
That's
A lot of them are
nice.
converting.
Yeah, I hear about it also. It's
You know
amazing.
what?
It's really
A lot
amazing.
of
So,
humanity
the
is
more
growing.
they convert, the more
great.
the Jewish population grows.
Can.
Yeah.
No,
It's
well,
not that
actually, that's one of the things I wanted to tell your friend. Tal, that is good to know. You know, he said that he has somebody that he wants to convert. So, and some people, there's some people don't really know anything. Most people don't really know much about conversions and really what's the right way, what's the wrong way, if it's allowed, if it's not allowed. Some people don't think it's allowed. Some people don't accept them. Some people think that you're supposed to do it, in certain ways, while others disagree. There's a lot of, if you don't study the subject, it's very easy to get lost and confused. But as a matter of fact, one of the reasons that Hashem, as in essence part of the punishment of sending us to exile, after the second Bet Mikdash was destroyed, and Hashem told us that He's going to spread us amongst the four corners of the world. Now, why don't He just send us to, not Israel, He doesn't want us in Israel, why don't He do like Adam HaRishon? He sinned, so He threw him out of Gan Eden. Okay, so He threw him out, he went somewhere else, and that's it. So why not just take all the Jews, say, okay, you know what, you guys are not allowed in Israel, go to a different part of Africa, go to America, go to Australia, go somewhere else. You're not allowed in Israel. Why did He spread us? And not only spread us, but He spread us in the four corners of the world. Meaning everywhere that you will go, you will find a Jew. Because part of the mission of the Jewish nation, as part of the Messianic age,
I'm sorry.
part of the mission is actually to show the world Judaism and actually to help people convert.
Shiur. I'm in Shiur.
Yeah.
And that's so when his friend, his girlfriend, his friend told him that she's interested in converting, and he's like, oh, I'm not sure if I should let her do it. What do you mean let her do it? It's not up to you, Bichlad. It's not. She's not. If she's doing it for you, it's not a real conversion.
Mm-hmm.
If
Yeah.
So, which means that this has nothing to do with you. So, it's actually you stopping her from converting is a huge sin. You're not allowed to stop her. The
You
thing
make
is
me to
that-
feel bad now.
Why?
Because there is a guy I met, and you know, he see the tzitzit and the kippah and everything, and he started to talk with me. He tell me like his father Jewish,
Mm-hmm.
and his mom not Jewish. His mom Catholic. He Brazilian guy, and he told me, listen, I always when I go there, I feel outsider. Always when I try to go to the synagogue, and he really, you know, open his heart for me. You know, you really talk about it, and you see it's something really, you know, see it on his heart. So he tell me always I go and I feel outsider there. And this, can I come with you? He asked me to come.
Okay.
And I don't know, I forget from this, but I have his number. Maybe I should bring him here.
Lives here?
What do you say?
He lives in Florida?
Yeah, he live like in Coral Spring, I think, or some area there.
Did he convert to Judaism?
No, but he really interesting to come and you know learn Torah and pray and things like that.
Yeah, it's basic. You know, there's the basic parts of Torah is, you know, he's allowed to learn if his father is Jewish.
No,
He saw his
he
tzitzit.
saw me and he told me like if he can come with me and everything.
Oh.
And I tell him, I could, you know, like let me I talk with you, you know, during the week, and I forget from this, you know.
Okay, next time.
I think about it after this, you know, like
Hashem,
if I just you know open for him the door and show him a little bit and be with him, I give him confidence, and then you know he can start the process or whatever.
If his father is Jewish, and his mom is not, unfortunately, he's not Jewish.
Yeah.
But he can still convert.
Yeah,
And in order for him to decide whether he wants to convert or not, he should learn the basics and see if this is for him. I'm sure his father's not living a Jewish life, but you know, so he should learn the Jewish life, and he could be one, you know, just like some of the best Jews in history were converts. Shmaya Naftalion, Rabbi Akiva, his parents were converts. There were huge amount of the major sages that we had in history were converts. But again, it's converting because you want to do it. Because you want to do it, not because somebody told you to do it.
Sarah also, no?
Sarah Imenu? There was no Judaism when Sarah Imenu.
No, but there is one of the mothers convert.
No, you mean people believe that they talk about Tzipora,
Not Tzipora.
The wife of Moshe Rabbeinu, you know, came from an idol worshipping father, and she became Jewish.
No, not
We got
Tzipora,
Torah.
I think Sarah.
No, it can't be Sarah. There was no Torah. There was no Torah before
There is,
until Moshe Rabbeinu.
Yeah,
there
but there
was
is
no Judaism. There was no Judaism.
there is something about
Avraham Avinu was
Yeah, I know,
לא היה
it's
יהודי.
שבע מצוות נוח, אני יודע.
Right. לא היה יהודי. לא, they had the oral Torah, but didn't have Judaism.
Yeah, it was just
So
to believe in
Avraham
God.
was considered a Hebrew, עברי. כאילו, אברהם
Yeah.
זה מהמילה עברי. You know, Yaakov was in essence the father of Am Yisrael, but again, he still, even though he went to a yeshiva for 14 years to prepare to go meet Lavan, and you know they had the oral Torah, but they didn't have Judaism yet until the Torah, the original
the
Torah was
Moses.
given a few hundred years later to Moses.
But there is
So there was no
something, I will check
conversions.
and I tell you, there is something I hear
The big
about.
things that changed were somebody that would go from being an idol worshiper to now worshiping an idols and believing in Hashem. That's different. That's not. That's you know. So that's being monotheistic and believing in Hashem.
Yeah.
So that happened a lot. Like Avraham Avinu was, you know, he helped a lot of people leave idol worship throughout all of his life, and he was a huge leader. But again, every one of the people that you're around today, some people say that, listen, you know, I've always felt like part of me is Jewish, or I always felt like you know, I related to the Jewish people, or something like that. People like that, you should definitely, at the very least, we have to be nice and to
Nice
everyone.
always, yeah.
But for somebody like that that's interested in Judaism, it's always good to give them something about Torah and to show them what it's all about, because
You get excited
problem-
too when you hear that.
the thing is that with Torah
course.
though, is that you have to make sure that you want it, because if someone is not Jewish and they want to become Jewish, but they don't want to keep the mitzvot, they're better off they're much, much better off not becoming Jewish, because first of all, the conversion is questionable whether it's real or not. And second of all, for things that currently, when they're not Jewish, it's okay to do, they're allowed to eat, almost everything. They are, they're allowed to, they have
No
basically
Shabbat.
seven basic common sense laws. So when it comes to kosher, there's no kosher. When when you're not Jewish. When it comes to, marriage, it's not the same type of marriage as Jewish people is. So it's when it comes to all the laws that we have to observe, Shabbat, they don't have Shabbat. As a matter of fact, a non-Jew is not allowed to keep Shabbat. The obligation to read Torah, they don't have an obligation to read Torah. So
Yes.
for things that they're allowed to do right now or don't have to do right now, they're fine with it. All they have to do is keep these 7 basic laws. It's called seven laws of Noah. But if they become Jewish and they don't keep it, for every one of those things that they're doing wrong, not doing, they're getting punished for it. So, and that's where it goes back to the original conversation of as far as if you really believe in Hashem, how could you possibly sin? How could you possibly sin? That's really the bottom line. How could you? So that's what you have to ask yourself. And that's what I asked myself at one point. Okay, so wait a minute. So Hashem, I remember since I was a little kid, I went to religious school for a few years in Israel, and then we came here, and all that was thrown out the window. And then later on, became a little more religious, then again threw it out the window. And it was always, my version of Hashem throughout most of my life was convenient, like most people. So, and that's most people's life, it's a convenient Hashem. It's not the real Hashem, it's a convenient one. It's the one that whenever I need Him, if I lost something, whether it's money or the keys, oh Hashem, please help me find it.
בוא נגיד גם, סליחה שאני קוטע לך, בוא נגיד גם שהשיעור לרפואת דוד שלי, מה שאמרתי לך,
אמן.
מקסים בין מחלוף וסימה.
שיהיה לו רפואה שלמה.
רפואה שלמה.
וגם רפואה שלמה של אבא שלי, דוד בן נסריה.
אמן, אמן.
ורפואה לכל עם ישראל.
Amen.
So now we're back to this convenient deity, this convenient supreme being. But if he's there when it's convenient for me, so let's say I lost money and I want him to help me make it back. So I said, please help me. If he actually helps me every time I call him, then he's not really a deity. He's not really a supreme being. He's actually my servant. It's the opposite.
You have to improve yourself.
Do you understand? So if every time I lose my keys, I call him and he finds it for me, but other than that, anything that he asks me to do, I don't even pay attention to. Shabbat, no, not for me. Kashrut, no, not pitom. No, I eat, I eat kosher meat, but the pizza is fine. That's what people say. No, I eat pizza outside. It's fine. It's no big deal. Listen,
That's me. But he's right. He's right.
The thing is, this convenient Hashem.
I tell you, this time I think I spent so much money for kosher meat and things like that. I say now this time I think like to eat I just eat meat, and I think with myself, I say I spent so much money for kosher meat and things like that. I say for what I do all this,
Here's the thing, with
being Jewish is very expensive.
With
it's
food,
yeah.
But here's the thing,
It's good.
But it's
if
important.
you're doing it for mitzvah, it doesn't cost you anything. So, natural question is, what do you mean? It doesn't cost me anything, right? It cost me $20 for a steak instead of $5. It cost me
you see the difference.
$40 for a pie instead of $20.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So
I went to look at the price. I'm like, wow.
So wait, but what does it mean? What does it mean? It doesn't
But I have
cost
to
me
look to
anything?
make sure nobody's around me.
Yeah.
Don't think I'm taking.
When
from
you're
them.
doing something for mitzvah, Hashem guarantees you're going to get it back. But if you're doing it not for mitzvah, it's your money. So you spend it, it's gone. So when you're spending money on kosher food, you don't have to think about it as spending money. You just think about it as I'm lending them the money until Hashem gives it back to me. And same thing for Shabbat. Anytime you prepare for Shabbat, it's good to splurge, to mamash, enjoy the Shabbat, buy the best foods, buy the the flowers for the wife.
Yeah.
Because everything you spend for Shabbat specifically,
special.
Then
it's blessed.
Hashem, it's blessed, and Hashem guarantees to give it back to you. But obviously, Hashem knows if you're lying or not. So you can't say, "Listen, I'm buying this car for Shabbat." That doesn't work. Okay? So now, going back to this convenient Hashem that is this Hashem of everyone, who is not the real Hashem. It's this fake deity. It's this. People think that if I read Tehillim once a year or 5 times a year, anytime somebody's sick, but I don't keep Shabbat, I don't keep Kashrut, I don't keep anything, but I read Tehillim though. No, he's going to answer my prayers. Why is he going to answer your prayers? If he answers your prayers, it's actually the opposite of what it's supposed to be. Now, of course, Hashem chooses when and not to answer prayers, but at the end of the day, you have to start thinking logically, is that if you really believe that he has the power to fix your problems, if he really has the power to fix your problems, I'm sick, I have chas v'chalila, I have cancer. It's like, okay, I have cancer, it's big disease. The doctor said, you got 2 months to live. Now, if I believe that Hashem can fix me, the doctor says, en sikui, no chance. The friends don't even want to see me anymore. They feel bad just looking at me. My wife cries every time she thinks about me. Parents, miskinim. Everybody's just like nobody can help me. So now I start saying, you know what, this rabbi said that if I read this Tehillim, then it's good. Now, why are you reading this Tehillim? Because you're praying to Hashem. Okay, so that's step 1. Great. Rabbi gave me a book, I'm praying. We established step 1. Step 2 is, who am I praying to? I'm praying to Hashem. Why? Because he's going to heal me. That's step 2. Step 3 is thinking about what you're actually doing. So I'm praying to him because I think he could heal me. So if I think he could really heal me, that means he has a lot of power. It means he's a supreme being. He's better than anything else. There's nothing equivalent to him because everywhere else let me down. No one else could help me. He's my only choice. So if he's my only choice, and he was always the only choice, and he's such a supreme being, then how dare I not listen to him the whole time? How dare I not read the book that he gave me and said, Shabbat is a holy day, you're not allowed to work, you're not allowed to watch TV, you're not allowed to, do all the things you do during the rest of the week.
Or drive.
You're not allowed to do any of these things. He gave us Shabbat, he gave us Kashrut, he gave us Judaism, he gave us life. So if he could really heal me, then I'm almost crazy for not listening to him. Because he could do anything. So the fact that I'm still living and even having the opportunity to pray, to ask for a second chance, that's by itself a mercy from him. So the bad thing that he gave me is mercy. Why? Because it woke me up. It woke me up. It woke me up finally to make me realize, hey, listen, I have this bad thing that's happening to me, but now I finally realize that Hashem is not my buddy. He's not this regular guy that I can call him whenever I feel like it, and if he feels like showing up to the shiur or not, it's okay. It's not my body. Hashem is the supreme being. He created everything. He could fix everything. He is everything. And the deeper you get into Hashem, you realize that actually, in reality, He is everything.
He gives everybody a chance, but you just have to...
You have to wake up.
You have to wake up.
You have to wake up.
And study and...
You have to add Hashem to your life. You have to.
Hashem gives you plenty of time. Plenty of time. So there's no reason why I didn't come to the shiur. I could have said, no, I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
כמו שאמרת לי בטקסט. When I got to him a little bit, 100%. But I told him that yesterday, I was like, please, come on, I want you to come, man. You're going to have a good time.
Yetzer Hara is always going to interfere, especially in the beginning, because you have to understand that the Yetzer Hara gets stronger with our sins. So if somebody's sinning, somebody's doing something against Hashem, that gives the Yetzer Hara more power. So in essence, you become a slave to the Yetzer Hara. So now, let's just say I'm a slave for the Yetzer Hara for 30 years already. A slave, whatever he wants, I'm doing. He wants me to go with women, I'm with women. He wants me to eat non-kosher, I eat non-kosher. He wants me to go to the casino on Shabbat instead of to shul on Shabbat. That's what I do. I'm a slave. And every time I put $100 on black, the $100 goes to the Yetzer Hara. Whether I win or lose, he still wins. So that's the Yetzer Hara. So I'm a slave for 30 years.
You're away from the family, from Shabbat, from
Yeah.
the synagogue.
But he's winning though. He's winning.
Right.
So now, let's say one day I decide, you know what? There's this Shiur Torah. There's a Shiur Torah I'm going to go listen to. Yetzer Hara hears this. What do you mean Shiur Torah? No, Torah is not good for my business. Torah ruins my business. So he's going to do everything he
Always
can
go against-
to interfere
against
with
Hashem's
your...
side.
And that's why generally you have to, when you're trying to do good things, it's better to not over-plan things. Meaning, you don't want to, say, listen, okay, I'm going to be there on Tuesday at 3 o'clock, already planning 3 weeks ahead. That's going to happen because you're giving him a bigger door. So it's good to try to, I know it sounds a little insane, but it's good to try to confuse him. So, instead of saying, listen, I'm going to go Tuesday at 3 o'clock to the shiur, say, okay, I'm going to go next week. You don't have to be too specific. And then, during when there's less time, when it's like a day before, like what you did with him, you try. Amen. You try to get him, but again, you have to realize that the Yetzer Hara is very much a big part of our life. So we go back to that story with the man, the true story that this guy got into business, heard of this thing called Hashem, but never really cared of what it is. He cared about a different type of deity, which is money. And that's why in the dollar, if you ever noticed, it says, "In God we trust." On every dollar bill says, "In God we trust." The problem with most people's reading skills is that they don't understand everything they read. Because many people, and by many I mean probably 99.9% of the world, translate that sentence to mean that instead of the God up there, the real God, they have to trust in the dollar. Because that's the way they live their life. They could say something different, but the way they live their life is that they live their life as if money is God. They do everything for money. And that's why anytime you ever want to meet somebody and really, really get to know them, put a lot of money in front of them. And that's where they mutate into who they really are. Everything before the money, when the deal is supposed to happen, they're the best friend in the world for you. Once the money's in front of them, that's a different man, a different woman. So going back to this man, he thought that money was God. So he worked. After a few deals, he made some money. He got up to about $3 million. He's got $3 million in his bank. He's got a nice house, also a nice mortgage, but he has the house. He has the wife. He's got a nice car. And he's trying.
This is a true story?
True story. And he's trying to figure out, okay, what's my next move? I sold my last venture. I got $3 million. What's my next move? So this one guy tells him, listen, you could invest into this building. They're building in Tel Aviv. I forget the name of the building. It's supposed to be some famous building there now. You can, with the $3 million, you can buy the 17th floor. Okay, yeah, let me look at the drawings, this, that. He goes, it doesn't seem like a big deal to me. This is before, I guess the building became worth what it's worth now. Like, it sounds okay, but I don't know. I think it's not really. I don't think I'm going to make that much money on it, so I'm going to pass. Okay, pseudo. Some more time passes. He gets a phone call from a long lost friend that he hasn't heard of in many years, who's now in somewhere in Europe. I think it was Romania, but it may be somewhere else. Who says to him, "Listen, I heard you're doing well. I have a deal for you. I think it's going to be a life changer for you." He goes, "Oh, what's the deal?" There's this parcel of land, And this land, I know personally, because I'm in the real estate business, I know that this land is very unique because the government is eventually going to want to buy it because they're developing all around it. So you should definitely buy it. He goes, okay, how much is it? $3 million.
To the exact.
$3 million. I was okay, you know what, this sounds good. Government's going to buy it, Psh, why not? Okay, this sounds like a
You
deal.
can triple it with the government.
I'm going to make a lot more with the government. I'm going to give you the $3 million. That's it. The only problem is that what he didn't realize is that his friend had the same God. They both had the money as their God. It wasn't a real God. So his friend did the same thing he did. He worked his whole life for money. His friend worked for his whole life for money. And the problem is when you work your whole life for money, you start losing the sense of direction. You start losing the sense of what's ethical and what's not. So the whole story that he gave him of this land being amazing and the government being interested in developing and even developing there, that was all fake. The government didn't even know this land existed.
Mm-hmm.
The government had no interest in even going anywhere near that place. And the place, his best bet was maybe to grow an apple tree there or something. And maybe have an apple. The $3 million was gone. So it didn't take long for him to realize that this whole story was fake, but his $3 million is gone. So now, you know, he's got a couple of dollars, he's trying to make ends meet, but he doesn't have any parnasah, he doesn't have any income coming in. And he's trying to figure out, okay, so I gotta make money. He's trying to do a few things, nothing's working. He's starting to run out of money. One day he gets a letter from the Israeli IRS. They say, you underpay taxes, you have to come up with 17,000, I think it's dollars, but it may have actually been shekels, within the next, I think it was 72 hours, like 3 days, or else we're going to foreclose on your house. Israel is not like America. It's not, they don't give you like years and lawyers and all this whole process until they actually take your house.
They say 72 or 72, huh?
Yeah, there you don't pay your bill, they come to your house, they take your TV. There you don't pay your bill, they come, they take your stuff. And if you owe money in taxes, they take your house.
Oh yeah.
And that's just the way it is. It's very different. In America, you could not pay your mortgage for 5 years.
5 years.
5 years, nobody even sends you a letter.
And you save all that money for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not supposed to do it on purpose.
It ruins your
yeah, you're not supposed to do it on purpose as a Jew, but the point is that the system is very different.
People take advantage from that.
Not allowed. Also, it's good to know people that do this, they need to know, and if you ever talk to them, they need to know you're not allowed to intentionally charge up your credit cards and not pay, intentionally borrow from places, whether it's your mortgage or a bank or a credit card or a friend, and intentionally not pay. That's called gezer. That's theft. You're not allowed to do it. It doesn't matter that the system is stupid and you can do it and you can just press a button and you're bankrupt and all goes away. That doesn't matter. In Shamayim, it doesn't go away. If you owe somebody money, so you should know this, if you owe somebody money,
You come back.
and you don't pay them back, you have to come back to this life. Even if the rest of your life you were a big tzaddik, you did all the mitzvot, you were a great guy, you were everything, but you owe somebody money, you will have to come back and pay him back.
You told me that, and I remember. So I told my friend that I was talking to. He says he owes somebody $1,000. I said, listen, just even if you give him $50 a week, just finish with it. You don't want to owe him money. Because I remember you told me that. I didn't explain the whole thing.
You have to. You owe somebody money. You cannot intentionally. You have to pay people back. If you have the money, you have to pay them. You have to have an effort at least. You cannot just, because the system is stupid. But you cannot work based on the system. You have to work based on the Hashem system, not America's system, not Africa's system, not Israel's system. Hashem's system. Hashem says if you borrow money, you have to pay it back. If you can't pay it back, and they are willing to take a settlement, you're allowed to make a settlement. Let's say you owe $100,000 and they're willing to settle for $20,000, you're allowed to do it. But you can't do it intentionally with that intent. You can't go into it and say, listen, I'm going to borrow $100,000, I'm going to spend 80 of it, I'm going to have no way of paying these people back, and then I'm just going to give them 20 and they're just going to have to take it. You can't do that. That's theft. That's intentional. But if something happened, you lost all the money, and you got to a point where you can't pay them back, but they're willing to take a settlement, then you're allowed to do it. But to just, for lack of a better word, screwing people around and just stealing from them, you're not allowed to do it. Not, I think, especially, you'll ruin not just this life, the next one too, and that's much longer one.
Wow.
So going back to this guy, he's got rich guy become poor guy. Unfortunately, he still has the same God, which is the dollar bill that he's missing now. So now he's like a person that's godless.
He's got 72 hours.
He's got 72 hours to
Come
get
up
some
with
money.
17 grand.
So now initially, during the first few months of after he realized he lost his money, people didn't know he lost his money, so they started lending him money. But after a while, he couldn't pay back, so people started realizing, oh, this guy's not rich anymore, so we're not going to lend him any money. So when the $17,000 bill came to him, he went to a few people. I said, no, you don't have, where are you going to pay me back? So he couldn't borrow from people. He's like, listen, I could give you one choice. He goes, what choice you have? He goes, yeah, you can go to these hard money lenders. These guys, they lend money under really, really difficult situations, but they charge big interest. What do they charge? They charge 30% a month. It could be pretty much owe them 3 times what you end up, what you borrowed from them after about a year or a little less.
Is it like loan shark or something?
Loan sharks type of money, yeah. He goes, okay, well, I don't have a choice. Where are they? Oh, they're in Tel Aviv. He goes, where in Tel Aviv? They're in that new building they just finished? Yeah, they're over there on the 17th floor.
Wow.
So what's the 17th floor? That's the place. So he goes to the place he was supposed to buy.
Right.
So he shows up to this place, and he's eating his heart. He can't believe this. This was supposed to be mine. But instead I bought this garbage in this other country that's completely non-existent, and I could have this office. These people could be paying me rent. They should be paying me $17,000 right now, not me borrowing from them. He couldn't believe it. So now he goes into the office. They tell him, okay, what do you have, what do you don't have? They're like, okay, listen, here, we're going to give you $17,000. This is what you need. You have to pay us the interest. But if you don't pay us the interest after 1 month, we take your house. Okay, well, I don't have a choice.
And he has to sign.
Yes, to sign everything, I don't have a choice. They gave him the $17,000 in $100 bills. So now he's got $17,000 of the bill that says that it was his God that he followed, unfortunately. So now he leaves the office, he's walking around the floor, he's eating his heart, he's really, really upset right now, he doesn't know what to do with himself.
Could give me the rent money.
Yeah, so he doesn't know what to do. So he goes,
office.
you know what, I'm in this office, he looks around, he goes, you know what, let me just go see what the rest of this building looks like. So he opens the door, and he goes upstairs, and he realizes it's the roof. It was a 17-story building, and the 18th story is a roof. So he goes, okay, let me go to the roof. He goes, he stands on the roof, he's very, very upset, he looks around, he's like, wow, I would have made so much money, my $3 million probably worth $5 million now if I would have bought this place instead. So he's really, really warming himself up.
And the roof is dangerous.
He jump.
Roof is not a good place to be when you're upset.
He jump.
So anyway, so he's like, okay, been here for a little while, I'm going to go home now, we're going to go pay these people and figure out a plan B. So he goes, tries to get out. Unfortunately, he didn't realize that the building wasn't complete yet, so they didn't finish every single little detail. The door to the roof could only open from the inside, it can't open from the outside. So he's locked. He's locked on the roof. So now he's like, he starts banging on the door. Nobody could hear him.
What about telephone?
Didn't have a phone.
Okay.
And this is before cell phones. This is about maybe 12 years ago, 13 years ago, before cell phones became as big as they are now. Especially in Israel.
Maybe he did have one, but he didn't pay the bill.
Possibly. So he bangs on the door, nothing, nobody in. Then he starts screaming from the roof, nothing.
If anybody could hear from down there.
Nobody could hear him from
19th
anything. Nothing. Nobody's listening. I mean, it's a busy city. It's like New York City. Imagine screaming from any window in New York City. Even if you're on the first floor, nobody hears you. 18th floor, nobody hears you. So everybody's going about their life. And this guy's like, oh my God, I'm going to die here. Nobody's, I have to wait for some workers to come. Nothing. So then he's like, okay, you know what? Why do I do this? I have $17,000 here. I take $100. I'm going to throw it down there. Somebody's going to obviously pick it up. They're going to look up, where does money come from, right? Logical. So he throws $100. $100 floats, 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 floats. Eventually hits the floor. Somebody looks at it, picks it up, runs away. He goes, hey, no, nothing. Goes, all right, maybe you won. Another one, floats, 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 hits the ground. Somebody picks it up, runs away. Like each one of them literally runs away just to make sure that in case somebody else dropped it, they don't want to give it back to them. They want to run away with the money. So he's like, all right, one at a time is not good. Okay, no, I can't really spend too much of this money. Let's take 4 at a time. He took 4, threw it. They all float, float, float. A couple people took it, ran. He got so upset. He goes, I can't believe this. Where do these people think? Did the money come from the trees? He got so upset, he just flung the whole $17,000 in the air. The rest of what he had left. So now he's like, okay, at least I'm going to have, somebody's going to pay attention. He throws the $17,000 into the street. Bunch of people, 2 minutes, they pick it up. Everybody takes it up, grabs a few things and runs. Everybody runs. No one pays attention to him. He's screaming his lungs out. No one pays attention. Everybody sees the money, takes it and runs before the government comes and arrests all of them because they would think that they robbed some bank or something like that. $100 is a lot of money back then. So his guy is furious and he starts like screaming his lungs out. Nobody's listening to him. He goes, okay, I'm going to die here. The night passes and the next day he's just looking at himself. He's like, okay, this is it. I haven't eaten, I haven't drank, it's really, really hot. It's Israel. Israel gets really, really hot. I'm on the roof, and I don't have my $17,000 either. And then he just looks, he's sitting there, he's just miserable, crying his eyes out, and he looks to the right, and he realizes there's a bucket that he didn't notice before. He sees in the bucket is something called chatzas, these little rocks that they for construction. And he didn't notice it before. It's like, you know what? He takes a rock, and he throws it. And it hits somebody in the head. And the guy looks at him and starts screaming at him. Right away, he's looking at him, screaming at him. Hey, crazy, what are you doing? So he takes, what does he do? What does he do? He takes another 3 rocks to make sure that this guy, throws at the same guy again. The guy obviously, starts blocking himself, and he's immediately, what does he do? Call the cops.
Yeah.
Calls the cops show up. 2 minutes later, this guy's screaming, he's so happy because somebody finally noticed him.
Right.
So the cops arrest him, and he tells them the story. And the cop says, you know what, it's such a crazy story, I have to believe you. He goes, where do you live? And he takes him to his house. He goes, okay, I'm going to let you go. It's a very strange story, but good luck to you. So the guy, the whole way, he's walking to his house, he knows that he has to give his wife the bad news. We're going to lose the house. Within the next 24 hours. It's nothing to do with the money that I was supposed to get. I don't even have it anymore. I've been gone. She doesn't know where he is. He's like, I don't understand. But it's like, but I just thinking about it. Why is it that when I threw the money at people, they immediately took it. They didn't look up. They didn't look at me. They just took the money and they ran away. But when I threw the rock at them, as soon as I threw the rock at them, they looked up immediately. How come they didn't look to the next guy? He's like, man, it reminds me of this one guy that came by his house one day. This religious guy tried to make him religious one time. Came by his house and tried to explain this whole concept of Hashem. And he told them about this thing about you don't want to wait for problems to happen. And he realized it's the same thing. When I threw money at these people,
don't pay attention.
It was just like when I had money. When I had money, I didn't look up. I thought I made it. But as soon as I had problems, the first thing I did is I started crying and saying, why are you doing this to me? Same thing with these people that threw rocks at them. First thing, they got one rock. They had $100, they got $500, they got $17,000. No one looked up. Everyone thought it was their luck. Or nature, or whatever other word they come up for Hashem's doings. But one little thing, one tiny little rock, and of course, how could this happen to me? It's not fair, it's this. They immediately blame Hashem. They don't blame themselves. He goes, the same thing with me. So he's like, you know what? I have to call this local rabbi to find out who this Hashem person is. He gets into the house, calls the rabbi, sets up an appointment to go meet the rabbi the next day. Not an hour passes by. He gets a fax, which surprisingly is still working because he hasn't paid the electric. And the fax says, call me immediately. And who is it? The chutzpan from Romania that stole $3 million from him. He's like, this guy. Okay, you know what? I'm so upset right now. I need somebody to take my anger out right now. Good, fine. He hasn't answered my calls in 6 months. So he calls the guy, immediately yelling at the guy. Oh, where have you been? Ta 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 ta. Doesn't even let him talk. After he finally finishes talking, he goes, you done? He goes, yes. He goes, okay, well, good news. What good news? You stole my $3 million. You ruined my life. And he goes for another half hour. You done? Yes. Okay, well, listen. The government wants to buy your property for $30 million.
Wow.
The other guy was surprised because he didn't think it was going to happen. He didn't sell it with the real idea of selling it to the government. He just wanted to make commission. But it actually ended up happening. Why? Because the guy finally acknowledged that it's not in his hands. And it's a true story. The guy did tshuva. And obviously realized that the guy that's on the dollar bill is not a real one. It's just on paper. The real one doesn't have to be on paper. So that's the story. It's a real amazing thing that if you look at your whole life, the first time that people get to even become interested in Hashem is when there's problems. When there's good times, usually people don't go to Hashem. And what we have to do is we have to make sure that we're not like that. Not just for ourselves, but for our families and for anyone that we know that you see that they're living a relatively normal life. They're not chas v'chalila, anything bad thing happening to them. Remind them of these things. Don't wait for him to call you. Call him first. Because if you call him first, he's always going to answer. Because a father is always going to be happy to answer the phone for his son. But if you don't call him and he has to call you, it's usually not a nice way to start a conversation.
Yeah.
You know? So, little things. Add Torah to your life a little bit every day. Doesn't matter whether it's a Shiur Torah from Rabbi Mizrahi, Rabbi Fan Kachlon, Rabbi Zamir Cohen that I like also. Go with rabbis that not only know what they're talking about, but people that are talking to you in a real way. Not the ones that just say just jokes or it's just funny all the time or they sugarcoat things. Go to someone that says the truth. And of course, every rabbi has good intentions, at least for the most part. But personally, I've had the best experience learning from rabbis that actually are telling you how it is. They're not telling you, hey, listen, it's okay to, it's okay to violate Shabbat, just go to Beit Knesset, or some nonsense that some people create because they think that you can't handle it. You can handle it. You're all grown-ups. Shabbat is not that difficult to keep. Tefillin is not that difficult to do. Kosher is not that difficult to keep. These are very basic things. Very, very basic.
You just have to pass those three things.
That's it. You have to. There's three core things for a man to do: Shabbat, Tefillin, and his brit. So
the brit.
Brit is keeping your brit. Number one, having a brit milah.
Yes. Okay.
But the second one is actually honoring it, meaning a man can't just go and become promiscuous with different women, especially non-Jewish, Jewish, and just roam around town like what's become the popular, normal, great thing to do. You're supposed to have an intention of having a relationship and settle down. And so to just go around, it's in today's world it makes you more of a man, but in Hashem's world it's not so good. The tefillin, maybe 5 minutes it takes. The whole shachrit prayer takes longer than 5 minutes, but the actual tefillin part that you have to do, you just do tefillin on the arm, then you put it on the head, then you finish the arm, you do Shema Yisrael, that whole part maybe takes 5 or 6 minutes, you completed your responsibility. Anything more than that is a plus, but that is your main responsibility. And the Gemara says very, very bad things about anybody who doesn't do tefillin. Tefillin is someone who doesn't do tefillin is some of the worst punishments in the Torah. People don't realize this. They think it's just something you do in your bar mitzvah. Tefillin is extremely important. Tefillin is one of our brit. Brit means it's our covenant with Hashem. This is our deal. This is the stamp. This is what makes you Jewish. Somebody asks you, what makes you Jewish? Oh, my mom is Jewish. That's not enough, buddy. Okay, yes, so biologically, yes, you're Jewish, and you have Jewish potential, and you could become something, and you don't have to convert, great, but if you just do that, if you're just born, and you were lucky enough to be one of the 13 million people in the world, out of 7.5 billion that are Jewish,
You should be very happy.
you should be extremely excited. You should be running to buy stuff for Shabbat and to celebrate. You should be running to do tefillin. You should be running to do it. You should think about it in the right way. But if we complain about it all the time and we make everything into a big deal,
Silver complaint.
if you make everything into a big deal, then you started with a perception that it's not fun. Like if you think about Shabbat as a time where you're not allowed to do stuff, it automatically makes your Shabbat horrible.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking of everything that you're missing. I'm not allowed to drive, I'm not allowed to watch TV, I'm not allowed to turn on the lights, I'm not allowed to do this, I'm not allowed to do that, I'm not allowed to sew. I don't know how many of you guys sew, but if you like to sew, you're not allowed.
What to do?
Sew. There's 39 melachot, 39 things that you're not allowed to.
לסרוג?
לסרוג, אסור.
Okay.
There's 39
This is really
things.
hard not to do it, yeah.
Yeah, I know, for you, definitely.
I can say about the Shabbat. I used to work in Shabbat and everything, before like I make tshuva. And now I just move here. Before I move here, I don't have job, I don't have anything. And first thing I tell to the constructor I work with him, I tell him, listen, Shabbat, no matter what, I don't work. No matter what. And I know like there is, in that job I work, I'm a locksmith, you must work all the week. And I know, there is probably, it will be difficult for me to find a job like that, because it's like one of the things of the day, you need to be available.
Oh, you do locksmith?
Yeah. So that guy, we say, you know what, yeah, let's try. I don't do it, let's try. I found job like immediately when I just move here. I don't plan it. And I can tell you, like, I used to work in Phoenix 7 days a week. And Baruch Hashem, what I do here, it's like double. Without Shabbat, I keep Shabbat no matter what. 1 hour before Shabbat, I shut the phone. You know this. And it's amazing. There I used to work like 7 days a week and everything. Here, no matter what, I work the 6 days. I keep Shabbat and everything, and the Parnasah is double.
I give you two stories. One personal story, and one story that's phenomenal from Rabbi Mizrahi's lectures. So Rabbi Mizrahi's lectures, there was one guy, Jewish guy. True story, both of them are true.
זה פרי אדמה, סליחה?
It's.
אמן.
Man.
אני מחילה, כאילו,
בסדר.
זה ואני חייב 5 דקות, 10 דקות. הייתי נשאר עוד שעה, אחי.
בסדר. I told you, feel חופשי. Whatever you're comfortable, you gotta do stuff.
I tell you the truth, I really enjoy. It was really...
Send me your number, that way if I have people...
We'll do every week.
Yeah.
Locksmith.
So here's two stories for you to mamash give you chizuk for Shabbat about Parnasah, because Parnasah is the biggest test of Shabbat, especially for some professions. Car salesmen, that's their main retail. That's the main day of the week.
Saturday.
It's Saturday.
Yeah.
Anyone that has a retail store. So there was one time there was this guy that had a chandelier store.
Light fixtures.
Light fixtures and some high-line stuff that's really, really expensive in Brooklyn. And he didn't keep Shabbat, he didn't keep much, but his daughter started doing tshuva. And his daughter said, listen, from now on I can't work on Shabbat. He goes, why not? Oh, no, listen, I'm going to start keeping Shabbat. He wasn't a big fan of it, but he let her do his thing. Let her do her thing. One day, he says, listen, I have to go away, you have to cover for me. He goes, I can't, it's Shabbat. He goes, no, you have to cover. Big argument, listen, you live in my house, you have to do what I say. Mamash, really, really, really upsetting situation. She had no option. She says, okay, what could I do? I'm going to go to the store. Mm-hmm. You're forcing me to go to your place on Shabbat. So she goes to the store, but she's trying to do everything she can not to do any business. So customers come in, she's not even paying attention to them. A few people are asking questions about prices. She gives them a really, really high price, so they're not interested in actually buying, so that she doesn't have to pay the register or take money from them.
Take money, touch money.
So one guy comes in, simple guy comes
this
in.
is a true story.
True story. One guy comes in, he looks at the
It's like
nicest
big cup.
chandelier that they have. And he
This is
says,
a
how much is this one?
The God trust you, try you.
And
Give the
this
highest
this chandelier is $25,000. So she tells him $100,000. She knows there's no way in the world this guy's going to buy this chandelier for $100,000. It's worth a lot of money, but it's not worth $100,000. So the guy says, "Oh, okay." And he leaves. He goes, "Oh, Baruch Hashem, I didn't have to do any transactions today." Monday morning comes, her father comes back. She comes back to the store. She's still upset at her father for making her go to work, but she's at least happy with herself that she didn't have to do any transactions. So they're working, they're having their normal day. Who comes back? The guy that came look at the chandelier. He goes, "Okay, I brought a few." And he gives, opens a little bag. He opens, takes $100,000 in cash out of the bag. He goes, "Okay, when can you deliver it?"
Wow.
So the father's looking at the daughter. He goes, "What are you selling them for $100,000?" She goes, quiet, hold on. I'm finishing a transaction for a second." She finishes the transaction. My father says, "What do you mean that the chandelier is $25,000? It's not $100,000." She goes, "Yep, but on Shabbat, it's $100,000. Her father got the message, and he ended up closing the store from that point on Shabbat.
Wow.
Story from my own personal life. When I was about 18 years old, 19 years old, something like that, I left. I used to work in the electronics business, which I left. I used to make a lot of money in it, and then I left and I went to work in a, I tried looking for different work. Initially, I looked at a place that was selling cars. So as part of the interview, they asked me, what I'm interested in and so on. And I asked the guy, "What's your top guy make?" And he goes, "Oh, your top guy makes $160,000. I'm not really interested. He goes, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm already making $100,000, selling electronic stuff. So if your top guy makes $160,000, that means that he probably is here for 5 years. And for me to work another 5 years just to make another 50% doesn't really make that much sense." Especially when he told me during the interview, because that was actually at a time when we were starting to become religious, he told me that the biggest day of the week was Shabbat. So I told him I can't work on Shabbat. And then he told me that the numbers changed. I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm not interested." Anyway, I left. So I went to work. I went into the investment business. And the first couple of years were very, very difficult. And one of the things that my boss would constantly try to convince me was to work on Shabbat. Because even though the market's closed on Shabbat, the first few years in the business, my main focus was sales. So to get new customers for him. So the ideal time to get customers is Shabbat, because usually that's when people are home, because you're calling them. You're calling people.
A weekend.
And even though I wasn't as religious then as I was maybe a few months beforehand, or the last couple of years beforehand, I still never worked on Shabbat, and I refused to do it. He would constantly give me pressure about working on Shabbat. I refused to do it under all conditions. Eventually I ended up leaving that place, and I ended up going to work for another firm. Long story short, that not working on Shabbat ended up working out, because a few years later, not only was I making much more money than him, but he ended up coming to work for me.
Wow. Wow.
So even though he was working 6 days a week, or 7 days a week, the extra money that he was making on Shabbat wasn't really extra.
Yeah,
So,
it's true.
Hashem, if you
It's
honor his
unbelievable.
Shabbat,
You don't know how much it's true. It's
you
like
I know
you
from my
try
own
it and
life.
you get directly feedback.
Hashem will, if you honor his Shabbat, he will give you more than what you would make on Shabbat. Even though logically it doesn't make sense. You work on Shabbat, it's the biggest day of the week, you're supposed to make more money.
It's more blessed. The money
If
also
you
more
don't do
blessed.
it, you end up getting more parnasah on those 6 other days. And more importantly, the parnasah that you get is, like he said, is blessed, where you can spend it on good things, whereas on Shabbat it's just unfortunate bad things. Sadiq, thank you for
Chazak
coming.
u'baruch. היה באמת אחלה, אחי.
Come back next week.
Yeah, let's do it every week. Nice to meet
Nice
you.
meeting you.
Really nice to meet you.
Bezat Hashem. Bezat Hashem.
Send me, I'll give you my phone number.
Yeah, let's
561